One of the primary points of focus in Alex Shakar's The Savage Girl is what defines beauty. There's a conflict between how the trend spotters imagine beauty and beauty in the real world. Also, it's a conflict that defines Ursula's own work as a trend spotter versus her work as an artist, how she co-opts her artistic ability into the service of Chaz and the trend shop. And so I'm going to spend a few moments thinking about beauty in the novel and how you think about beauty literarily. We start with the novel's epigraph from Charles Baudelaire from his prose poem, The Bad Glazier. Baudelaire is a 19th century French poet. If you haven't read him before, it's definitely worth your time to look at Baudelaire's work. He walked the streets of Paris and collected images in poems and prose poems. And one of his kind of points of focus in his own work was to try to make things that were ugly in the city into beautiful things through words. And so the epigraph for Shakar's novel is very pointed here, right? As Baudelaire writes, "And drunk with my madness, I shouted down at him furiously, 'Make life beautiful, make life beautiful.'" And so Baudelaire, through words, is trying to make beauty out of seemingly the most kind of ordinary images. This is a similar kind of a task of the late 20th, early 21st century photographer Andreas Gursky through his work, where he takes images that are very kind of common to us in an everyday life and presents them on a massive scale to kind of explore their own senses of beauty. This photograph from a dime store called 99 Cents by Gursky kind of thinks about all the wide array of product and the colors and the wide range of things here, and kind of rethinks, can you make high art out of commerce? And that's one of those kind of central concerns of the Savage Girl as well, right? In what ways is beauty used or utilized to sell the world? In this novel, Ursula uses the Savage Girl as an image for within her own career to kind of build her reputation within the trend shop. And as she argues for the importance of the Savage Girl as an image, she tells the others, "Language is full of lies, and the Savage Girl wants nothing to do with lies. She's sick of modernity, sick of all the cynicism in our culture that passes for sophistication. She tries to live authentically, honestly. She tries to live simply in tune with the earth. You and I may find her glamorous, but she cares nothing for glamour." And this is the kind of image that ultimately, connects with Ed Cabage and in the marketing campaign for Light Water, the diet water that's being sold, in the book. Ursula utilizes the Savage Girl and the Savage Girl's kind of beauty as a means to sell the product. It seeps into how she sketches the Savage Girl. She draws her, and how she thinks about the idea of image within those sketches. As she, draws the Savage Girl, she thinks people don't want their contradictions exposed as they look at the products that they buy. They want their contradictions glamorized, valorized, mythologized. Contradictions help people cope. And this gets at the kind of central conflict that Chaz feels within each product. He says, there's a brokenness to it, that there's within that brokenness there's a paradescence, he calls it, right, of competing claims that a product makes on a person's sense of identity, and it's within those competing claims that the person finds meaning in the product and wants to buy it. The ironies of the novel are in that Ursula develops the Savage Girl as an image, but it ends up being her sister Ivy who plays the Savage Girl within the campaign. So she becomes the Savage Girl who drinks the diet water, and as Ed Cabage will know, that this is marketing to a post-ironic consciousness, a marketing that that moves beyond irony in a way. Although, can you move beyond irony? That's a tension, that's there. Chaz sells the idea of Ivy as the savage girl, as a glamorous model, and she's a powerful savage. Your sister can be a fire-eating, ass-kicking urban savage. So Chaz sees the image as entirely post-ironic, but in what way does irony still tinge the culture in some ways? As Chaz will note in his trend book on the light age, right? He notes that marketing creates discontentment, that's ultimately what the purpose of what marketing is in American culture, that it makes you feel discontent with life. And Chaz will summarize this sense of post-irony in his statement: post-irony is ironic earnestness, post-irony is omnipotent slavery, post-irony is giddy terror, post-irony is schizophrenia, where the buyer of the product feels this competing pull of two different things within a product, these two kind of competing impulses, and buys the product because the person doesn't want to resolve the contradictions. So how is beauty perhaps one of those things that is an impulse within the body of the product? This comes out in Ivy's own kind of plane of the savage girl. The Shakar writes, Ivy's savage girl would seduce the world. The introduction of Avon's tribal paint makeup, which according to the trade journals has been selling out everywhere except the third world, where it is obstinately underperforms. There was a segment the other week on the Jenny Jones show called Hides for Hoes, in which prostitutes were given savage makeovers. Hide skirts have appeared in both upscale boutiques and $10 knockoff stores, but the most credible savages are the wealthiest and most refined. The savage girl is an image people value, one for which they have use, whatever that use may be. So there's no defined way that people see the savage girl, right? That they tap into her meaning and find their own sense of beauty within it. And you can think about all the kind of ironies that are at work within American advertising and American marketing, and how those impulses are exploited within the kinds of marketing that we see today. There's the Dove Real Beauty campaign, right, which purports to kind of get back to real bodies in a sense, and how does beauty emerge from a sense of a real body here? Is there any irony to that campaign, or do you see that campaign as being one that directly reflects the idea that all bodies are beautiful in some way? This goes haywire in the Savage Girl, of course, right, where Ivy's playing the Savage Girl herself gets out of hand. It becomes kind of a consuming beauty for her. It ends up with Ivy on the internet burning money live. As she'll argue, as she invites people to send her more and more money, she claims, my image is a drain magnet in the glamour continuum. I have to get famous as fast as possible. I need money, a lot of money, fast. And so people send her money and become kind of addicted to watching her on the internet and watching her rants that eventually become the burning of money in the end. So the campaign itself can never quite get beyond the ironies of the culture. There's never a real post-ironic moment that arrives in the culture. And that sense of what beauty is always kind of in conflict for Ursula, where she finds beauty and how that beauty builds meaning within the culture. What I kind of like to think about here, is that question of what makes literary beauty for you as a reader. And there's, several kinds of things, several aspects of reading that might come into play here. That you can think about the beauty in a beautifully crafted image in the prose or the poem. Charles Baudelaire tried to take very ugly things and tried to render them in beautiful prose or in beautiful verse. And is the making of a beautiful image something that defines literary beauty? Is it transcendent subject matter? A subject matter that pushes your imagination beyond the seeming limits of where you are in the world, that pushes you to think new things or to imagine new things, and in ways that perhaps like great science fiction does. Is it the sound of the writing read aloud? Is there a certain beauty to the sound, to the song of a poem, or to the song that's underneath the prose that defines literary beauty? Is it exquisite organization to a story or a novel or a poem, where the writer has organized the subject matter and the words on the page in a way that that connects to you in terms of its organization? It fits together, right? Whereas it's writing that seems real, perhaps, where that is particularly reflective of a cultural moment or a generation. The beat writers, have a certain beauty to them for a generation. The beat writers, continue to have a sense of beauty for many readers of American imagination or American literature, because they reflect an imagination that continues to be powerful to us as readers. So what defines literary beauty here? Can it kind of push you to see very common, ordinary spaces in a new way, much like Gursky's photography and its kind of monumental shape? And this is an image called Shanghai Hotel from 2000 that Gursky shot as, it's just basically the atrium of a Shanghai hotel, but he tries to kind of invest it with a transcendent power here. Does it give you a renewed sense of beauty? Does art generally do that? And in particular, does reading and the literary have a claim on beauty for you?